I want to continue the conversation I had with you Christmas Eve night. If you were here, that's great. If you weren't, then this will be new and fresh to you. Some of you were here, but you weren't here for the little 10-minute sermon I gave. So this will be good for you too, because I know everybody's running around trying to get places on Christmas Eve. It's about fatherhood and being a child. It's about, my wife and I, to set up the story, my wife and I were shopping for Christmas for our children. And both of us are like teenagers. My wife and I, when we're alone, it's sort of sick and gooey, We like each other a lot, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. And so we gross our children out, and anybody else around us, we just like each other. And we're gooey, but we also have a childlike heart, both of us do. So we're out shopping, and we're like, we could get this for the kids, and we could get this for the kids. And my wife says to me, she goes, I just feel like this is like God for us. He's up in heaven looking at all the things he could do for us. And he's like, and I could do this for him, and I could do this for him, and I could get this for him, and I could get this for him, and I could give him this, and I could give him that. And just like my wife and I, we want to give our children all these things, but then we balance it with where they're at and what they need, and whether or not giving them that gift would hurt them or help them. And as a mom and dad, we want to just give them everything we want to give them. We love them. We want to just pour out blessings upon them and just blessing, 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 and watch their little smiles. But that's not what's best for them. And everybody's like, darn it, Dad. What's best for them is what we give them, and we wish that they were further along in their development so we could give them more and more and more. That's how God is with us. He wants to pour out more and more and more. You're like, that sounds like a good idea, Pastor Mike. But he can only give us what will help us and not what will hurt us. Any parents in the room ever give your children something and you thought it was going to help them and it hurt them? I mean, Nate gave Jacob a knife, and he thought Jacob was going to enjoy it and play around with it, and instead Jacob cut himself, right? And because Jacob's not mature enough to have that kind of knife, it was a razor blade knife, it wasn't a knife. So it was a box cutter. And Jacob apparently had never seen one of those, and when he opened it, it went, ah. He didn't feel it till he saw blood coming out of his hand, It's one of those things. Oh, we send him pictures of bloody hands. That's exciting. And but that's what I'm saying is, now, will Jacob someday have a box cutter knife? Oh, absolutely. Will he one day have his own knife that flips out? Oh, absolutely. Is he ready for it today? Well, we obviously know no, he's not. Especially at church where there's cushioned chairs and grandmothers who will kill him if he cuts them. And fathers. The grandmothers would beat you to them. I want you to think about this. Does Chris want to buy his son a pocket knife for Christmas? Does he want to buy his son a 12 gauge? With ammo, yes. Should he buy his 3-year-old that now? No. Amen, brother. I want you to think about this because this is how we need to have our relationship with God in this context. God is in heaven and he wants to pour out blessings upon us. He wants to give us everything our heart desires if it's for our good and not our hurt. But he cannot give us things that will destroy us, and only he knows when it's time. He's a good father. How many of us have thought that God withholding what we wanted was being mean to us? I remember when Emily was mad at God because she couldn't have kids. For whatever reason, she couldn't conceive. Her and Tom couldn't conceive. And she was mad. She was mad at God, then she was mad at the church, she was mad at people, she was mad at her husband, she was mad at everybody. What was God revealing to you, Emily? That your selfish, wicked heart. And if God would have given her that child before she realized how selfish she was, what would have happened to the child rearing? It would have been complete selfishness. Yeah. Yeah. Wouldn't have a relationship with God like she does now. Wouldn't have a relationship with her husband like she does now. There's all kinds of things. God knew when it was time. How many of you feel like he's being mean? I have felt that way. Yeah, but I know better. I feel that way, but anybody ever feel that way, but you know better? So you lied. You do feel that way, because I asked you if you felt that way. You guys need to separate your feelings from your actions. I mean, I tell people all the time, if men didn't separate their feelings from their actions, they'd be humping every tree they see. You ever see one of those dogs in heat? You ever see a male dog in heat? You walk into the yard and he starts humping your leg and you're like, dude, what are you doing? If men didn't separate their feelings from their actions in their 20s, they'd be like rabid dogs in heat. Every girl that walked into their yard, they'd be humping. And I'm not exaggerating. Chance, how old are you? 24. You know what I'm talking about, don't you, Chance? Yeah, Wilson's over here like, does that mean I'm stuck in my 20s? Anyways, I just want you to think about this. You need to start separating your actions from your feelings. Most of society today is raised to just do what they feel, which will lead to what? Death and destruction and pain and suffering. Anybody testify to that? So God looks down upon you, and he doesn't withhold the blessings from you because he's punishing you. He loves you. Listen, with my children, if my children are rebellious, I punish them. Okay? But if they're learning and they're developing, I do the things I need to do to teach them because I love them. I mean, I love my kids. Some of you guys, I've been accused of not loving my kids, and then you come to my house, and then you're like, whoa, never mind. Because I absolutely love my kids. But I love them in a very different way than most people think of loving your children. To me, it's a godly, fatherly love. The gushy stuff is for Beth. She's the gushy love, which it's actually the opposite in our house, but she is. When they hurt themselves, they go to Beth. They don't go to me. I mean, I could be sitting there, and one of them could fall down and, like, have blood coming out of their head, and I'll be like, and they run right past me to go to Beth. Now, folks, if you ask any of the kids in my family, they'll tell you they do not want mom to deal with them when they're wrong. They want dad to. Because mom's crazy. Any women in the room, you get emotional about disciplining your children, you go a little nuts. You go a little nuts. My wife, has this term, I will throw you out of this window. You learned it from my mom. See that? So you just think about it. You don't do it, I tell you that, I'm going to throw you out the window. Really? I love my kids, and I sit around and I think about what I need to do for them to help them learn and grow. Now, if me being a father who is corrupt and damned to hell if it wasn't for the grace of Jesus Christ, and I love my kids like that, how much does God love you? Way more. And when he thinks about what you need, it's perfect. When he gives you what you need, it's perfect. I want you to think about that. You ever woke up for Christmas as a kid and you opened your presents and it wasn't what you expected? And you were like, Dad, are you stupid? Or Mom, did you not get my letter to Santa? I mean, come on. But maybe your parents knew exactly what you needed, and they knew that if they gave you what you wanted, it wasn't going to be good for you. How many 6-year-old boys want a BB gun? How many 6-year-old boys probably shouldn't have a BB gun? A lot of them, okay? A lot of them. Think about it. You shoot your eye out. Does that mean, listen very carefully, because this is what we do. Does that mean God thinks you shouldn't have a BB gun? Nope. That means God wants to give you a BB gun, but you aren't ready for it. At no fault of your own. Is that little 6-year-old boy a failure because he's not ready for a BB gun? No. He's just not ready for it. How many of us have ever pushed through and got it ourselves? We pushed through and got it ourselves. We went out and got what we wanted since Dad isn't going to give it to me. How's that work for you? You end up like Jacob with cut finger in the emergency room, learning the lesson the hard way. Anybody ever have to learn the lesson the hard way? I love this. I've got a house full of little girls, right? 14 to 4, right? And we tell them from the time they're born, we start telling them, even before they're born, Daddy's going to pick your husband, right? 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 Now, when they're about 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, guess what they're going to do? They're going to get to choose whether Daddy picks their husband. Guess what? They might choose their own way. Will they have to learn the hard way? Oh, almost certainly. Some of you are like, well, I picked my husband. Yeah, how'd that work for you? Been trying to trade him in for a long time. How many of us, we won't accept God's provision. We want to do it ourselves. And the reward is all you get. I remember there's a young man comes to church here, and he wanted to go out and get himself a new car. Didn't have any counsel, just when I get what I want. And you're just like, oh, no. And it was, well, you didn't take advice. You didn't take correction. So you get to learn what? The hard way. You get to learn the hard way. I bought a new car when I was a young man. It was a Geo Metro. It was the best car I ever bought in my life. Do you know why? At the time I was working a job that I was getting paid mileage, 50 cents a mile. My Geo Metro got 52 miles to the gallon. My gas check for the month was almost 2/3 of my paycheck for the month. What you think about this? How many times have we had to learn the hard way because we don't think our Father in heaven knows what he's doing? And he loves us. There's two sides of this. Those of us that are arrogant, we don't think God knows what he's doing. Those of you that are not arrogant, you think God doesn't love you. If God loved me, wouldn't he care about what I want? Listen. As a parent, do you want your children to not think you love them because you didn't give them what they wanted for Christmas? How many of you are afraid of that? That if you don't give them what they want for Christmas, they'll think you don't love them. If you are like that, you have a false understanding of love. You have a false understanding of belonging. Okay? And by the way, just because you're screwed up in the head, don't teach your children to be screwed up in the head too. Break the cycle. Let them know you love them and give them a Reese's peanut butter cup. Just one for Christmas. Just one cup. Get those. Just get them one and say, I love you. But I wanted, that's all I could get. My wife and I have had different kinds of Christmases with our family. Christmases where we had so much money to spend for Christmas we didn't know what to do with it. And Christmases where we hardly had anything to spend and we didn't know what to do with it. Thank God that every Christmas it didn't matter. Just didn't matter. Just didn't matter. If it mattered to us or to our children, we were in trouble. My passage today I want to read from is in Hebrews. Be encouraged, a good father disciplines his children. One of the ways he disciplines us is by not giving to us what we want until we're ready to have it. He also does things in our lives to make us ready to have it. Everybody know what I'm talking about? I don't think you plugged that in. Can you click the next slide? It's all I need is one slide. Ooh, that's hard to read. Can you read? Oh, I can read it back there. Therefore, having so vast a cloud of witnesses surrounding us and throwing off everything that hinders us and every, what's that word say over there? Oh, wait, it's up there. And especially, thank you, especially the sin that so easily entangles us. Let us keep running with endurance the race set before us, fixing our attention on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of the faith, who in view of the joy set before him endured the cross, disregarding its shame, and is set down at the right hand of the throne of God. Think about the one who endured such hostility from sinners, so that you may not become tired and give up. In your struggle against sin, you have not yet resisted to the point of shedding your blood. You have forgotten the encouragement that is addressed to you as sons. It says, my son, do not think lightly of the Lord's discipline, or give up when you are corrected by him. For the Lord disciplines the one he loves, and he punishes every son he accepts. What you endure disciplines you. Stop right there. What you endure disciplines you. God is in heaven, and he wants to bless you. He wants to give you that BB gun. But you are not ready for the BB gun. How is God going to get you ready for the BB gun? By disciplining you. Disciplining is not punishment. Disciplining is focusing and directing the flesh to do a certain response on command. It's coaching. When I played basketball, we had to shoot free throws. And we had this little game at the end of practice we do every once in a while, when in the last game we sucked at shooting free throws. And if it was under 80%, that was sucking. Okay? And we had this game. We each had to shoot 10 free throws. If we were under 80%, we had to run, what do they call it? We had to run like a suicide. Suicide, not a wind sprint, a suicide, which is really sucky. And then we'd go, okay, we'd run a suicide, and we'd all get to shoot again. Oh, no. We didn't stand around the square and shoot one at a time. Oh, no. There were about 10 hoops in the gym. We each found our hoop. We each shot quickly. And then if we didn't shoot 80%, we got to run. Some more and some more. Well, you guys know what happens when this happens, right? It gets worse and worse. It's harder to shoot free throws when you're... You see what I'm saying? But guess what? That's how it is in a game. What was our coach doing to us? Punishing us? No. Was he mad at us for not shooting good last game, and so he was going to punish us this game? He was going to make us run because he was mad at us? No. He was trying to discipline us, train us to shoot free throws under pressure. He was motivating us to have a game scenario and be under pressure. We never once made it to 80% after the second suicide. But we made it to 70. And I shot 82% for my career playing high school basketball, when as a freshman I shot like 60. Do you know why? Because he disciplined me. Because I ran drills and I disciplined. If you're that 6-year-old boy, if you're that 4-year-old boy and you want a BB gun and daddy says not yet, daddy's going to give you a BB gun throughout the year or a gun, and he's going to see how you respond. He might let you hold it and then take it from you, and boy, that seems like punishment. Have you ever had that happen? God lets you touch it what you wanted, and then he took it away. And you're like, really? Are you just mad at me? Well, he's training you. He's teaching you. He wants to see your heart. How many of us, the first time we finally got what we wanted, we were lost in the fact that we had it, and all sense went away. Dylan was like that when he got his car. Just joking. How many of us, teenagers are known for this when they get their license. Do you know what the state's doing now when a teenager gets in a car accident or gets a ticket? First time they take your license. First time. Why? They're disciplining you. They take your license for 30 days. You get a speeding ticket, they just take your license for 30 days. No second time. First time, bam, you're done. Why? Because they're trying to get you to wake up. Well, why, Pastor Mike? They're just being a jerk because they're out. No. Do you know who causes most accidents? Teenagers. Why? Because they're so mesmerized by having freedom and all of this power that they lose sense. Also, they're not trained. No, most of them are just not trained. They're foolish. So they're disciplining. They're disciplining. How many of us, God blessed us with that thing we've finally been waiting for, and we lost track of where God was? You know, God sees you. He might let you hold it for a little bit, and he takes it away from you. And why did he take it away from you? Because he saw the look in your eye. How many of you guys have kids, and you gave them what they've always wanted, and you could see the look in their eye like they've lost all sense? They're mesmerized by the thing you gave them. And you're like, you know what? That kid's going to run down the hallway, trip and fall, and run that dagger right through their head. Just give me that. This is a bad idea. Have you ever felt that way with your kid when you, oh yeah, you're like, no. I see that one. How many times has God done that with us? And we think he's punishing us. We think he's being cruel. But he's a good father. And he wants you to have that BB gun. But he sees you're not ready for it yet. So he disciplines us. For the Lord disciplines the one he loves, and he punishes every son he accepts. What you endure disciplines you. God is treating you as sons. Is there a son whom his father does not discipline? Now, folks, this was written way before today. There are many sons their father doesn't discipline in our society today. In this society, if you were like that, you were not worthy to be a father. Could you imagine if I walked up to a man that comes in the greenhouse and said, are you there to discipline your child? No. Well, then you don't have a right to be a dad anyways. How offensive that would be to the men. People would say I'm a big jerk. I've said it. Do you provide for them? Do you discipline them? Are you there? No. Well, then you're not a dad. You're a donor. That's called a donor. You're not a father unless you provide for them and you discipline them and you're there in their life. Otherwise, you're just a donor. And anybody can donate semen. Anybody. It's the father who's there, who's providing, who's watching, who's taking care of, who's disciplining. That's a father. We have a generation. 80+% of all young boys today are not disciplined by their fathers. Even if their father's living in the home and paying for everything, even if their father is divorced and he pays his child support, he's still not allowed to discipline his child. So when this Bible verse says, of course your father disciplines you, we don't even get it. We have nothing to base that reference on. I do. I have a lot to base that reference on. We have dads who are raising their kids in our society today who think it's wrong to discipline their children. They actually love them, care for them. Their wives don't, they're indifferent to it, but they've been taught that it's wrong to discipline your children. To discipline them, in other words, put them through hardships in order to make them stronger. That's why they respect their coaches more than they respect their fathers. Think about that, and you're like, whoa. It's scary what we've done. When the Bible says, is there a son whom his father does not discipline? In our society, we're like, yeah, there's a lot of them. In this society, there was none. Can anybody tell me what would happen to a father who didn't discipline his son? He and his son would be stoned. What? Yeah. Because he has a stupid father? You're a bad, bad father. It's who you are. It's who you are. It's who you are. And I'm stoned because of you. It's who you are. Some of you are like, yeah, dude, I'm stoned because of my father. Oh, no. You have forgotten the encouragement. Listen, I know. I just couldn't help but go there. Verse 8. You have forgotten, I got plenty of it. You have forgotten the encouragement that is addressed to you as sons. My son, do not think lightly of the Lord's discipline or give up when you are corrected by him. For the Lord disciplines the one he loves, and he punishes every son he accepts. What you endure disciplines you. God is treating you as sons. Is there a son whom his father has not disciplined? Now, if you are without any discipline, in which all sons share, then you are illegitimate and not God's son. Furthermore, we had earthly fathers who disciplined us, and we respected them for it. We should submit even more to the Father of our spirits and live, shouldn't we? Listen, if you are without discipline, then you are illegitimate and you're not a child of God. This idea that when I get saved and I get close to God, everything just falls into place is a lie. This passage proves it. God is always chastising us. He's always disciplining us. We're never perfect. There's not this place where I could go be with God and everything just falls into place and everything is warm and fuzzy and sweet. No. There will be a season where everything seems to be right, and then God just sort of steps in and says, now we're going to work on this. So it's like this. When you're 4, your dad gets in your business, he teaches you some things. He disciplines you so that when you're 6, you can have a BB gun. And after you get your BB gun, the first week after the BB gun, you're in this euphoric place where you think, oh, wow, I've arrived, right? Anybody ever been there? And then dad steps in because he wants to give you a 12 gauge. Right? And so dad's like, when you're 10, I want you to have a 12 gauge. So he steps in and he starts disciplining you some more. Right? So at 10, you get a 12 gauge. Or let's say at 10, you get a crossbow. And at 13, you get a 12 gauge. Right? And then your dad's thinking, I can't wait till my son has a rocket launcher on his shoulder when he's 19. And so your dad starts training you and developing you, because at 19, 18, you go into the military, and do they discipline you in the military to hold a rocket launcher? A little bit. They don't at all. No. They discipline you. They train you. They know what it's going to take to shoot that rocket launcher, and they want to make sure you're prepared for it. So they start developing traits in you and disciplining you so that when they hand that thing to you, you are ready to do it. And then they teach you and they show you. Why do we think that it's different with God? Why do we think that somehow God comes down and waves a magic wand over our head and then, boo, now I'm a mighty man of God? Why? Why do we think that? Because somebody sold it to us on TV? Some guy with wavy, slick black hair? All you have to do is believe the power of I am. Not I am God, but I am a child of God. And the power of knowing that. And knowing that God has created you to be these. We don't talk about the discipline. We don't talk about the punishment. We don't talk about sin and how it affects our relationship with God. He just wants you to think that this is a magic bullet that you can, magic pill you can swallow called grace in Jesus Christ. And all of a sudden, you're made perfect and you can do whatever you want. And you are. You're made perfect in your relationship with God. And then he starts disciplining you. Listen. When Chris looked at Jacob at age 3 and said, man, I want to give him a BB gun at age 6. Was Jacob more perfect at age 6 than he was at age 3? No. Did Chris love his son more at age 6 than he did at age 3? What was different? He was more mature. He was disciplined. He was prepared. The relationship was still the same. The love was still the same. We need to embrace this concept in our lives. We need to embrace. That's why I love the song, You're a Good, Good Father. Because we need to define what a father is. A father is someone who loves, rebukes, disciplines, and blesses. Let's not talk about the blessing without the rebuke and discipline. Okay? Because a good father means, seriously, my wife and I, we're so excited. I wanted to give the kids their Christmas presents. It's like we have to send the kids away and only bring them back at Christmas Eve. Or I will give them their presents. Because I want to see their happy faces. I want to share in their joy of receiving these awesome blessings. That's exactly how God is with you. He wants to share in you receiving these awesome blessings. I want to share one last thing with you before we're done. It doesn't matter if you mess up. I want to share that with everybody. Okay? Listen, folks. I went through a season in my life where I was really frustrated. It was like I didn't know what I felt. I started getting a complex of maybe I don't understand love. Okay? Maybe I don't understand what it means to love. All these people say love is just, doing whatever your wife wants you to do. And that didn't match up with the Bible. And so I was really struggling, and I remember what happened before the breakthrough. What happened before the breakthrough wasn't me passing a test. It was me failing the test and saying, God, I can't do this. And him going, finally. Dan, when Evan was 10, and let's say you bought him a BB gun at 10, which would be really scary for Evan. But let's just say you did buy him a BB gun. When he got that BB gun, if you're like, son, let me show you how to use this, he goes, Dad, I got this. You'd take it from him immediately, wouldn't you? You understand? If your son said, oh, finally, I got this, Dad, I know exactly what to do, you know you have a problem. Do you follow me? I've been waiting for this forever. Finally, I've got what I wanted. I know, Dad, I got this. You're like, you just snatch it from them as fast as you can because you know they're going to hurt themselves or somebody else. See, the breakthrough comes when you realize you can't do it. The breakthrough comes when you realize that when you finally get that thing, it humbles you and it brings fear upon you. Not fear of, I don't want this, but fear of, God, what am I supposed to do with this? So for those of you who are like, well, I want God to be able to bless me, so what is it that I need to do? You've already failed the test. You need to love the Lord with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength, and let him be in charge of it. If you want the list of things you need to fix in your life so that you can get blessed, your heart's wrong already, because it's all about the blessing instead of the blessor. God, you gave me this BB gun. What do you want me to do with it? How do you want me to use it? Not, I got this. I've been thinking about what to do with this for years and years and years. Fail, boom. Anybody ever thought that? Anybody ever finally got the blessing that you thought you finally deserved, and you were just like, I got this, and then you screw it up royally? As Chris says at work, he goes, I pooped on it, Pastor Mike. I'll say, Chris, go over there and do that. He'll be like, dude, I pooped all over it. Because he just screws it all up. Just screws it up. Just understand. If God gives you the thing you've always wanted and you screw it up, you are that child who wouldn't shut up till you got what you wanted. So God gave it to you to teach you a lesson. Anybody know those children? They won't leave the stove alone. And so you finally just let them have it because that's the only way they're going to learn. You know what I'm talking about? Yep. God sees our heart, so he knows. Yep. So he'll give you, if you won't focus on him, he will give you what you wanted so that you'll realize it's not what you thought it was. He'll let you eat the ghost pepper. Never had a kid. I could buy it. I could do it. Dad, I want some of that. No, you don't. Yeah, I do. No, yeah, I do. So you're like, okay. A ghost pepper? Oh, they're nasty hot. Yeah. They give you heartburn. They're good, but they give you heartburn. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Duh. Today, if I did anything today in my sermon, my goal was to help you understand how much God loves you. To help you understand that he wants to bless you. He is that stupid father who's getting Christmas presents for his children and has to have the children kept away from him, or he'll give them to them. Okay? That's how much he loves you. That's how much he wants to bless you. But luckily, he's smarter than me. But his passion for you is like that.